Hi, this is Asa, and welcome to my audio experience. Hi, it's Asa. I'm giving you a copy of my best-selling book for free to help you in your health journey today. I'll pay for the book. All you do is just cover the small shipping and handling costs. Go to asarx.com and get your free book today. All right. Now, I want to talk a little bit about women and fitness. All right. Because they're saying now that exercise can tone up women's bodies, but they're toning up the mind as well, which I think is really great. Young women who regularly exercise have more oxygen circulating in their brains, and possibly that allows you to have a sharper mind. Study shows 52 healthy young women that don't prove that exercise makes you smarter. On the other hand, it's reasonable to conclude that exercise likely boosts mental prowess, they say, even when people are young and healthy. So the University of Otago, I think I said that right, in New Zealand, that was the lead researchers that did the study. But the predominant view, they said, is been that young adults' brains are operating at their lifetime peak, no matter what their exercise level. The researchers write in a journal of psychophysiology. But in the study, brain imaging showed that oxygen supply in young women's brains did vary depending on their exercise habits. So compared to the less active peers, women who exercise most days of the week had more oxygen circulating in the frontal lobe during a battery of mental tasks. But the frontal lobe governs some of the vital functions, including the ability to plan, to make decisions, and retain memories in the longer term. It refers to the ability to suppress the reflexive responses that instead respond strategically using self-control. So it's interesting how we know for a fact that, of course, it can be like chicken or the egg, but we know for a fact that exercise increases the oxygen flow, which increases flow and power to the brain. And so the output of the brain, the capacity, and really the way the brain functions increases. They said women in the study were considered to be meeting guidelines on a regular exercise if they got at least 30 minutes of moderate activity or 15 minutes of vigorous activity, like running. Okay, so brisk walking would be moderate. Running or sprinting would be more vigorous, on the vigorous side, 5 days a week. The findings suggest moderate amounts of exercise would suffice, but it's important to test whether more vigorous exercise affords greater benefits or not. So, interesting, but we know for a fact exercise is good. And we've known it's good for our bodies, but I think it's interesting to know, and I'm sure this applies for men as well, that it's good for our brains. And we know it's good for endorphin output. That's why we feel good when we exercise. That's why, here's the deal, 10 to 15 minutes a day. That's all you need. Now, that's vigorous activity. I'm just happy if you get that in 5 days a week, preferably 6 days a week. I think the whole 5-day concept is a little much. It's not enough. I think you need to be moving every day. It's too easy to be sedentary now. There's just too much going on. So focus in on that. I think it's a powerful tip for all of us to get our bodies moving, especially for brain function. And the older we are, the more you want your brain cells to get the oxygen that it needs. So that's a real good tip. 888-283-7272. That's 888-283-7272. You're listening to the ASA RX Experience. I'm Asa, your host. Happy to be with you. Let's get over to the phones and talk to Alexa. Hi, Alexa.
I am 46 years old, and over the past year and a half, it's gotten to where I am just as tired when I wake up as when I have gone to sleep. I usually kind of bottom out around 4 o'clock each day, and I'm getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night, so I was concerned.
So in a situation like that, what you want to do is you've got to look at the different primary systems and what could be there. So one of the big keys and looking at that and really figuring out what the main issue is with sleeping and being sleepy is knowing what system it is. So the primary system you have to look at is the anterior pituitary gland. So the pituitary gland is called the master gland in the body. So looking at that and making sure that it's, getting it tested, making sure that it's working right. And then the thyroid tends to be secondary. And you can have these type of sleepy issues if the thyroid is not working right. So getting that tested, seeing if you have an iodine deficiency potentially, or if any of the thyroid hormones are off or not being produced, that's another big one too. What's interesting about it, and I find it quite interesting actually, is the piece about the adrenal glands. We don't talk a lot about adrenal fatigue. It's not a big evidence-based concept. I mean, in medical practice, we don't really look at that. I mean, if it's not Addison's or Cushing's disease, then we don't really put much weight into it. But there is a phenomenon in naturopathic medicine, a lot of the alternative folks in functional medicine, they'll look at adrenals as, and adrenal fatigue as a real condition and a real health challenge for a lot of people. When you get tired and when you feel tired, it usually can be the adrenals, but they're not primary. It comes from the pituitary gland not working the way it needs to, or not producing the output of the different hormones that it produces. So that's why the testing is so important, because you want to be able to get a good read of each system rather than just treating something that is tertiary, right? So something that might be way on down the line. You want to get to the root cause. You don't want to just be in the branches of the tree handling the branches. You've got to get to the root cause of this whole system. And that's how you heal. That's how you get the body to heal. That's how you get people to heal. Healing comes from the inside out. Healing is powerful, and the body was designed to heal. And if you get to the root cause, guess what? That's what will happen. So I would do that. I would get testing done. I would get testing done to see exactly what those systems are doing. You know, which one's working great, which one's not, what's primary, what's secondary, what's tertiary. And then you can create a good game plan for that. And the other test I would look at getting done, Alexa, and this is really important, is I would look at neurotransmitter testing. So neurotransmitters are our brain chemistry, right? So you think about things like dopamine, acetylcholine, GABA, and norepinephrine, epinephrine, serotonin. So when you look at these brain chemicals, which are made in the gut, by the way, so they're not made in the brain, they're made in the gut from proper digestion, which plays a big role. So I would look, for the most part, at how well the body's functioning in that way. Because if in something like this, if your neurotransmitters are not balanced, I mean, that can cause all kinds of issues with what you're struggling with and what you're dealing with. With a fatigue factor, can be heavily dependent on what's happening in the brain. So I would look at that, keep me posted, and really, once you get the testing done, you will know. And if you want to talk with one of our providers, just let them know, and we'll get somebody to help you in that area. 888-283-7272. That's 888-283-7272. Our health really is our greatest wealth. If you need help, go to asarx.com. If you're into the podcast or into podcasting, so if you listen to the show and you miss hours, you miss the show, it actually plays on the website 24/7. So you can go to the website and stream it there on your phone. If you want to catch the podcast, subscribe to the podcast. We have other segments that we don't have on this show that we put on the podcast. So we got special interviews with celebrities and sports figures and experts that we have on the podcast. Just look up ASA RX Experience in the podcast in any directory and you'll find us. But we put out new content every day. So every single day, you'll get a new piece of content that can encourage you and help you live your potential. That's what this whole thing is all about. We've got Sam over in Jackson, Mississippi, says, I was wondering if you had some help on someone trying to lose weight and build muscle at the same time. I've never been into weightlifting, but I would like to put on some muscle. That's a great question. You're talking to the right person. As I've put on, since I started working out and exercising, I've put on over 170 pounds, believe it or not, in my lifetime. Now, I'm hanging out around 245 right now, pretty lean, in some of the best shape of my life, strong as I've ever been. And there's a way to do that. And I was a real skinny guy, and I put on a lot of muscle and did it naturally. Like, you can do that. It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. You'll usually get a big bump in the beginning. So if you're fairly thin and you really do things right, you can gain about 30 pounds really fast. And then after that, it's really slow. But it does. It builds over time. So if you're patient and you're consistent, then you'll get the results that you're looking for. So that's what I would start with first and foremost is looking at that and coming up with a good game plan for that. So because it's going to start with your eating habits. So just to give you a roundabout, and there's a whole system to this, by the way. I'll give you some basics, but it's going to need to be dialed in because you've got to have your calories, your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates, your macros. There's a ratio to take your body weight times certain numbers to give you the calorie amount that your body's going to need, and then break those nutrients down to give you the exact nutrition that you'll need from the food. I mean, like it's all together. So that has to be worked out too. But we can easily, any of our providers can do that for you. We do personalized nutrition. That's what our providers do. And instead of it being blind, it's customized exactly for what your body needs, doing testing and everything to see what you need. But just keep in mind, okay, your eating habits are important. And if you think you're eating enough to gain muscle, you're usually not. You usually are way off. And your exercise does not need to be extreme, but it needs to be very intense, short duration, no more than 5 days a week with 2 full rest days. And you might even need 3 full rest days and only 4 days of heavy lifting. So there's a whole method to that to really stimulate all the hormones in the body and to make the body as anabolic as possible.
To experience more of ASA RX audio, visit us at asarx.com. Hi, it's Asa here. Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Do you need a new prescription for your life? I have a special gift for all my listeners. I'm giving away a free copy of my international best-selling book to help you truly live your potential. All you have to do is cover the shipping and handling, and I will give you the book absolutely free. I want to invest in you and your health this year. So get your free copy of my book by visiting myfreehealthbook.com. That's myfreehealthbook.com, and let's get healthy together this year.